are officially live on Facebook for the Thursday edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show, our JWB Rental Income Property of the Week. I am your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and with me as always, the man that I like to call GC, because he's got genius concepts. He knows how to generate cash flow. He's a great co-host, and because his name is Gregg Cohen.
I'll take that. Hey, everybody. Great to be with you.
And something new that we started doing on Thursdays, we're having guest investors from the community with us today, joining us from Denver, just north of Denver, Colorado. They are the owners of Illusion Painting, right? That's doing residential, new construction, and repaints all over Denver. Great reputation out there. Misty and Troy Johnson, welcome y'all. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And as we like to say when we kick off every show is that if you want to find out about owning rental income properties in your portfolio, you're in the right place. If you want to find out about best rental property management for investors, you're in the right place. And if you want to get an edge in the Jacksonville market, you're in the right place. If you want some personalized help, talk to one of our experts. Go to chatwithjwb.com, book an appointment. Super easy. It's a lot of fun. And speaking of a lot of fun, what we do after this is what I like to call the roll call. Y'all ready, Johnson fam?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Roll call. Here we go. We got John Henning. You know, John Henning, you're always quick to check in. Good afternoon, John Henning. We got Joanna, our community manager in the house. Welcome, Joanna. If you need anything, let her know in the chat. We got Leo, good morning from California. We got Drew Barnhill from Georgia checking in. We got Denny Davies saying Guten Tag from Germany.
Guten Tag, I like it.
Guten Tag, Denny. We got Chris Gonzaga from the Hudson Valley. Good to see you, Chris. We got Marilyn Cotterman from Homosassa, Florida.
Home of the manatees.
Y'all know about the manatees in Homosassa?
Love the manatees.
So they're wonderful, wonderful animals. Ken Moline, the patriarch of the first family of the Not Your Average Investor Show community. He's here from California. Greg Stone is back. Good to have you, Greg. Howdy to you. Anthony Dida is back as well. Greetings all. Who else we got? We got Carolyn Moline, the matriarch of the first family of the Not Your Average Investor Show community. Welcome, Carolyn. Michael Santorios from Northern Virginia. That's my guess. Yeah, yep. Michael Santorios, Virginia Beach. Was it Virginia Beach that Michael Santorios? I don't know.
I think so.
Northern Virginia. That's what he's saying. Oh, Michael from Virginia Beach is in the house. We got two Michaels. That's what got me wrong. All right,
Let's try to trip him up. Let's see as many Michaels as we can get on the show.
And Virginia's.
And Virginia.
And it sounds like we need to plan an IRL meetup in Virginia.
Ooh.
if we're having so many check-ins from Virginia.
Been a little too long since I said IRL. So thank you.
Speaking of the IRL meetup, so you guys are aware of the Not Your Average Investor Show community meetups that we're doing? We got one coming up in Denver.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I need the information about that.
Okay. We're going to have Joanna make sure that Jen reaches out to the Johnsons here about the IRL meetup in Denver. And today we got something special. We got this golf tournament coming up. JWB Cares,
yes,
donating a couple of houses to veterans in need.
We do.
And we have a fabulous sponsor.
We do.
that is helping a long way to get a veteran a home.
Absolutely.
Let's give him some love.
Let's do it. So every year our network comes together to do this amazing thing of building a brand new construction house and then giving that home to a veteran in our community who needs a helping hand with affordable housing. It is a lot more than just JWB. It really is the entire network. And so one of the things we wanted to do this year is to highlight and showcase our sponsors of the tournament, every opportunity we can at the golf tournament, and then here on the show as well. So the tournament sponsor that we wanted to highlight is our friends over at Duval Asphalt. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Duval Asphalt so you guys can know of this wonderful company. They've been in Jacksonville here. I've got a write-up here. I'm going to read a little bit more about it. They have more than 50 years of service here. For over half a century, the members of Duval Asphalt have combined extensive asphalt paving experience with the ongoing development of pavement technology to ensure the highest quality products and workmanship. Their business was built on a tradition of quality and their reputation is impeccable. They are actually our neighbors right across the street here at JWB. We know them very well.
That's right. That's where I turn.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how you know where to go.
Where to turn. Yeah.
So we are super thankful. They're American owned, Jacksonville based. They continue to grow. They remain on the cutting edge of pavement technology. And they are proud to be Northeast Florida's leader in asphalt manufacturing and contracting with multiple state-of-the-art facilities. From manufacturing to paving, seal coat to repair, Duval Asphalt has the right mix of experience and reliability to meet the customer expectations. And we're super happy to have them as a partner. I got to share with you that we haven't done a tremendous amount of business together with Duval Asphalt. It's not like they're a builder of ours, right? Building new construction homes. We don't pave a lot of roads, right? At JWB, but they know about this mission. And they are one of the first ones who said, yes, I may not like get paid by JWB a lot, but I want to be a part of this mission.
That's great.
They signed up and became one of our top sponsors. And we're very, very thankful for our friends over at Duval Asphalt. In fact, I'm supposed to be looking for Jennifer Garrett and Mitchell Grant. If they're in the audience, I want to say a big thank you and a big shout out there from Duval Asphalt. So again, thank you guys for all of your support, and, looking forward to having a wonderful charity golf tournament here on February 28th. It is coming up.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
Good read. Good read. I don't know if y'all know this, but we're about to syndicate to the radio.
Yeah.
So Gregg's getting his radio.
I kind of felt like a radio host. there.
You were like a radio host there. Just like that. All right. Duval Asphalt. Really, really appreciate it. Getting some love in the community here from Denny Davis. Military loves JWB. We love you right back. Denny and Bill Shields is checking in. Buenas tardes, amigos. Buenas tardes, Bill Shields. Good to have you. Now let's talk about our guest investors. Tell me about you. You all are 4 kids, grown up in Denver. You've got a successful paint company. You're working 7 days a week. How the heck did you get into rental income properties?
Well, in 2019, we went to a real estate investing seminar and got some financial education, and they connected us with JWB, and that's how we came to buy properties in Jacksonville.
Well, I'm a little curious because there's usually a lot that goes into it more than that. There's usually like conversations, maybe books that you've read, maybe a family influence, maybe some pain and some other financial investment that motivates you guys to take that time, spend that energy actually exploring this and getting that education. Did any of that happen for you to make you shift to wanting to do something that's alternative, not normal?
Actually, a little bit of every one of those things. We did some Rich Dad, Poor Dad webinars and books and learned a little bit there. I have a sister who is very successful in rental properties here locally. We've tried some investing in the stock market and did not really do well. So it was a little bit of everything that just kind of led us here, and it made a lot of sense, and figured we'd give it a try.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know everybody in the audience can relate to what you just said there. For some, it's more of the maybe family influence or the educational influence. For some, it's the pain, right? One of our guests and one of our just friends, Leslie from Denver, actually was sharing her story on our fan appreciation show. And she was talking about the pain that she experienced. And that's what brought her here. We don't want everybody to go through that pain, but whatever brought you to this show, we're hoping that you guys can, of course, learn from Misty and Troy. And we're thankful for you guys sharing your story here.
There you go. And Misty and Troy, Jen is now back in the audience. Fairy godmother of the Not Your Average Investor Community. April 30th is the Denver meetup. So we'll be reaching out to y'all and giving y'all some information so you guys can come and hang out. I think we go to the property now, right? We're going to get into your story a little bit later and talk about your experience and kind of like, things that you've learned. But right now, let's see how much you learned in this real estate education thing you got going on when we magically whisk ourselves away to 934 Kennard Street, Jacksonville, Florida, 32208. It's got a purchase price of $165,000. It is we're looking at a picture. If you're in the podcast, I'm describing it to you right now, but you're in the podcast, go to nyais.com and join us live for a show. It's as fun as it sounds, but it's clearly an existing property that's been renovated, and it is offering an estimated conventional total monthly cash flow of $130 and an estimated conventional financing total ROI of 8.99%. You can download the property sheet at jwbinventory.com and follow along at home because we're going to fiddle with it a little bit. GC, what do you love about this property?
I thought you'd never ask. Well, guess what, guys? The thing I love about this property is that it can close the quickest. It is a property that you can put under contract and close the quickest. Now, normally on my list of things of why I love properties, closing the quickest is not really an advantage, right? But this is not a normal real estate market, and this is not a normal debt market either, right? This is not a normal economy right now. And for friends of the show who've been watching, especially for probably the last 2 months, we have been talking at length about the Fed's activity and what that is going to mean to rising interest rates in your mortgages for your rental properties. Guess what? Rates are starting to go up.
Yeah, I've heard.
We went real strong 2 months ago and said, rates are going to go up, and here's why. And we're starting to see rates going up, right? Long-term interest rates going up. And, you know, that's going to continue. And so if I wrap all this into why I love this property, I'm bringing the properties to you guys right now on the property of the week that can close the quickest, because there's an inherent advantage for closing a property soon in the next 60 days versus putting a property under contract and not closing on it for 4 or 6 months. And that inherent advantage is that your mortgage interest rates are probably going to be lower for the properties that can close in 60 days than the ones that close in 6 months. And so that's why I love this property more than anything. It is a renovated home. It can close in 60 days, which means you can put it under contract today. You can lock in your interest rate today before it rises, and you're going to see a higher return on investment for the next 30 years if you keep that debt in place for that long.
You've been coming pretty strong with this message the last, I guess, month, right? Since we started talking about the Fed going up and these things, and you're bringing these new remodeled properties as opposed to new construction with this same reasoning, right? Like speed to close, speed to locking in the return. Does that differentiate from property to property that you've been doing in the past couple of weeks? Or are you just kind of seeing it as like, man, let me grab one that has this quality and put it up there? How do you think about that?
Well, you know, the property of the week for me has always been kind of difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because inherently what we believe and what our clients believe is that these properties are widgets, right? As long as you buy into the model, you buy into the team, you buy into the Jacksonville market. I don't love one property over another. That's why I don't love new construction over renovations. I don't love this property on the west side more than I love this property on the north side. And it's just based on the fact that they all produce between 7 to 9% returns on investment. And then I plan to hold on to them for 20 years, right? Or longer, a full market cycle. And over a full market cycle, chances are you're going to see about 4.5% on average appreciation per year. And that's across the board. So it just doesn't allow me to pick one property over another property. And if you believe all of those things, then as long as you believe in the model, as long as you believe in the team, and then you believe in Jacksonville, the properties are widgets. This is an exception, right? Usually what I use for the property of the week is one property that I love, and I choose a reason about that area just to highlight it. You know, I love all the properties the same, really.
Yeah.
But now this is different. There is an inherent advantage for those that can close quickly, because if you look at what the effect of a rising interest rate is on your return on investment, if interest rates go up 1 percentage point, they go up from 4% to 5%, that's a 33% reduction in your return on investment from the cash flows. So there's real value there. So that's why I'm bringing the ones that I'm saying this property that can close in 60 days is better than one. Right now, it's better than one that can close in 6 months, because that's what the numbers show. Got it.
Misty and Troy, where y'all are at in your journey right now, is that something that's weighing on you? Is that something that you've already locked up your property, so you're in another cycle of buying, or kind of how are you thinking about the timeline that Gregg is talking about now, or has talked in the past? Have you thought about it, first of all?
Yeah, and it definitely makes sense. We actually have another new construction home under contract that we're waiting to close on, and wondering where that interest rate's going to come out.
Yeah, that's a challenge. You know, yeah. When did you put that one under contract?
I think it was in December.
December? It's going to be a little bit of sitting and waiting for you guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they said it was supposed to be done in February, but we've had some construction delays, so not really sure.
Yeah, we're not very good on hitting deadlines right now for new construction, and that's just unfortunately, we want it as bad as you all do. There's just certain macro factors that are really making it hard for our builders to solve the supply chain issues and whatnot, but it won't bring us down there.
I mean, Troy, you're in the construction game right now, right? Is that happening across Colorado too? Are you feeling that from a labor standpoint and construction slowdowns as well?
Construction, oddly enough, is not slowing down, but between material delays, we're experiencing paint shortages. So there's problems with cabinets, trim, flooring, and it gets a little stressful as we get to the last couple of weeks of a home build because everything's kind of coming in together all at once. And then I got to find a way to make it look good in a very short period of time.
That makes a lot of sense.
Sounds very familiar. And that's that way, even in times where supply chains are a mess. That pressure always, that's why you're the best at what you do, Troy, because that pressure always seems to fall on you guys at the very end of the job, right? But now it's just multiplied times 10.
Yeah. Trying to keep the morale up and the stress level down is probably my biggest challenge, besides trying to pull off some of these crazy schedules.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. So then let's talk about the property itself and what you're looking at. Y'all bought 4 properties last year?
Yeah, and we closed on 2 just 2 weeks ago. So we have 6 through you guys now.
Oh my
Let's
goodness.
go.
I didn't even know about that. I
Let's
didn't
go.
even include those in our most recent numbers here.
So that means that y'all have seen a couple of these sheets in the last year or so, right? You've looked at this, right? So when you're looking at this one, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What are you looking at? Talk us through what you're seeing.
I think we generally start with the cash flow to see what it looks like. And then, we look at the return on investment, the overall purchase price, and the down payment. So because we have been trying to purchase multiple properties, we're trying to have as much available capital, for the down payment.
We really like the new build side of things. That may change as time goes forward with what's available. We have a pretty strong plan in place. We're hoping to do 1 house a quarter for the next 8 years to get us to that hopeful retirement point.
Wow. That's an incredible goal. That's wonderful. That's an aggressive goal too. And I love it. Can you walk people through how you got to that goal?
Well, we're trying to replace our income now so that we continue to have income into retirement, because with 4 kids, they're very expensive and we didn't have a lot of retirement savings to rely on. And also we want to have something to pass on to our children, for them to enjoy their life a little bit more, maybe, instead of having to work 7 days a week. So
we call that the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we choosing to buy rental properties with you guys living thousands of miles away that you probably will never see the inside of for some other family to live in for 4 or 5 years? There's got to be a big reason. And those are wonderful reasons. I guess I'm curious, guys, had you ever bought an investment property before?
We bought a condo. My daughter was in a weird living situation and she needed a place to move into. She didn't have great credit. So Misty and I decided to buy a condo here in Thornton, Colorado, and gutted it, completely renovated it, and then we rented it to her. And then our second purchase was a 4-plex in Kansas City, Missouri. And then we got introduced to you guys, and now we have 6 with you and 1 more coming.
That's beautiful. That is really beautiful.
Massive action takers.
I'll tell you what.
So impressive.
That's what we have in our community, right?
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah,
quality
that's
of
cool.
individual that we have in our community. And when they see an opportunity, they attach it to a why, they attach it to a financial goal that they need to accomplish in order to accomplish that.
Yeah.
And you demystify this whole idea of investing in rental properties and how many do I need to acquire to accomplish the goal? And it becomes a routine. It's a practice. They build it into their family goals each year, right? Like this is the type of model that we as investors want to follow.
That right there is what I call a golden nugget that we're going to clip out and post on the JWB YouTube channel. If you're on YouTube, check it out. And while you're at it, you may have noticed that this is being done live in front of an audience. If you want to be part of the show, go to nyais.com. That's Not Your Average Investor Show, nyais.com. Register and join us on a Tuesday or Thursday at 12:30 Eastern. Trust me, it's as fun as it sounds. Now let's get it back to me and GC kicking it with our Not Your Average Investor homies. Yeah, clearly a model everybody wants to follow. The chat's going crazy about like 1 per quarter. everybody wants to grow up to be like you. So you said you like new construction, and that's kind of what you lean towards. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
So with everything being new, there's a little bit longer period before general maintenance is required for mechanical, roofing, exterior paint, that sort of items.
And it sounds like you're also trying to save up cash flow to invest into new assets, right? You said you were price sensitive because you want to acquire as many as possible. So you're trying to like keep the cash flow on the front end for the down payments and stuff like that. And that's kind of factors into your equation.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What about these cash flow numbers, right? So you said you look at the cash flow, you look at the ROI, this 130, this 9%. How does this stuff compare to kind of like what y'all have already bought, what you looked at in the past? What goes through your mind there?
It's actually pretty similar to all the new builds that we've bought so far.
Yes,
Interesting.
they are. And we actually have some of their returns a little bit later we'll get into, so we can actually look at those real numbers, and I can confirm, yes, they are.
How does that work, GC? I thought that cash flow was more in existing homes than in new construction. I thought that was the case. Can you kind of like talk me through why it's all the same?
Well, so then there's different timing of this, of course. So they bought at different times, right? A year ago, cash flows look a little bit different than they do now, right? We've talked about how, prices go up, and then over time your cash flows come down, your return on your investment comes down for you making a new buying decision, right? So like, that's why I'm talking so much about this being the best time to buy rental properties, because I know next year, instead of this same property having an 8.99% return and $130 of cash flow, it's going to have less. It might have a 7% return, just simply because, prices are going up and interest rates are going up. So that's probably going to bring it down even below 7%. So whenever you're making a new buying opportunity, you have the ability now to acquire them, and you lock in your long-term returns on investment at a higher rate, simply because prices are lower today and interest rates are lower today.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Cash flow versus ROI. What the total monthly cash flow represents to you, and how you understand the difference between the ROI and the cash flow?
So when we're thinking about cash flow, think about this as the entrance to the dance. The entrance to the dance of rental property investing, right? For rental property investments, we're talking about Misty and Troy's plan of acquiring one per quarter. Well, I can tell you that they feel really good about that plan because they're investing in assets that pay them every single month. I am very, very certain that their plan would not be to acquire one a quarter if they had to shell out a couple $100 a month per property. Am I accurate in that, Misty and Troy? Yeah. Right. So that's the entrance to the dance here. That is the difference between an asset and a liability. Assets pay you money every single month. A simplistic way of thinking about it is assets pay you every single month. Liabilities cost you money every single month. Right. And we want assets here. And so cash flow is the entrance. That's the threshold to get to. It is not the only thing to look at. That's where a lot of people stop. That's where a lot of rental property investors stop. They only focus on cash flow. And as we talk about quite often here, if you're only thinking about cash flow, you're leaving money on the table from the other profit centers. If you just have these cash flow blinders on, you're costing yourself money over the long haul, right? You could be choosing to invest in a property in a neighborhood and with a team that can help you maximize all 5 profit centers rather than just one profit center. But specifically that $130 a month, that's what happens on a normal month, right? So normal month rent comes in, you've got your typical expenses that happen. You've got your principal payments, your interest payments, your property taxes, your property insurance costs, and then you've got your property management fees. And that's a typical month, and you want that to be positive. Here, it's going to kick off about $130 a month.
There you go. Well explained as usual. Do you look for your own kind of numbers being in those trades, anything like that?
We definitely look at the long term and see what it's going to look like down the road. For us, the cash flow it's important, but it's not specifically, because we're not using the income from the rental properties as income for ourselves. We're actually taking all of that rental income and we're applying it to the first property we bought with you guys to get it paid down as quick as possible. So we do look at it, and because it will help us kind of calculate, how quickly we can move on to the next phase.
Absolutely. Many people, again, look at cash flow as being the only thing to pay attention to. You're hearing Misty and Troy say, yeah, I don't really pay attention to it that much. I know it's positive, and then I'm focused on other things to make my decisions, right? That's exactly how we need to think about it. It's because at the end of the day, when we look at their total return on investment after holding for 10 or 20 years, cash flow is not going to be the largest contributor to their return on investment. It's going to be those other 4 profit centers, right? So you guys are doing a great job.
I'd love to dig into that. You're saying that you are taking all the cash flow from all the properties and putting it to pay down the loan of the first house. Is that the C3PX thing? Is that the waterfall demand thing that everybody, tell me about that strategy. How do you think through that?
Well, we have a spreadsheet that kind of helps us figure out the best way to, whether it's the highest interest or the lowest mortgage balance to pay off first. And, again, you can only have a certain number of mortgages, so we can't keep up with our goal if we're not getting them paid down quickly. And because we don't need that as actual living income now, then it's all just going to further our goals.
Got it. So how often are you looking at that? Do you have an auto pay set up that is just kind of paying down that mortgage? Is this something that you are spending more time managing, or is this still a pretty passive thing for you?
Again, I have a spreadsheet for all of the properties and what our expenses are and what the extra is, but there's the variables of vacancy where, that month, we have to pay a mortgage instead of being able to attribute that money to paying down. So it varies, and the fourplex that we have, has not been nearly as good so far as the JWB properties, because they don't do 2 or 3 year leases. It's 1 year lease, and every one of those units has already had a turnover in just about a year and a half. So we've had higher maintenance expenses for that property specifically.
There's the pain right there. Sorry, guys.
Dive into that more, man. So this is something we talk a lot about the show, but I rarely get to dive into this turnover thing because we're normally only talking to people that have JWB properties and have these 3 year leases. So you have a fourplex and it has 1 year leases. How long have you owned the fourplex?
It'll be 2 years in March.
And all 4 of them have had a turnover in under 2 years.
Yeah, and one of them had 2 turnovers because somebody terminated the lease early. So the painting and repairs in between have been a little painful, but.
Did you have to pay a new tenant placement fee every time?
Yep.
Well? Yeah. What are they charging for tenant placement fees? Maybe half the first month's rent or full month's rent?
I think it's just a $700 fee.
Yeah. What's your typical rent for one of those units?
They are between, I think, $1,300 and $1,500.
There you go. So about half the first month's rent, Yeah. And this is a great myth, right? Most property management companies out there sign 1 year leases. I can only think of a couple that I know even nationwide who sign longer term leases. Most sign 1 year leases, and they come out really strong. They say, well, our tenant placement fees are only half the first month's rent. JWB's tenant placement fees are a full month's rent. And they say, and many people go to that property manager who's a discount property manager, and they think it's going to help them in the long run to have 1 year leases signed at half the first month's rent. Well, Misty, if you had the chance to pay a full month's rent for your property manager over in, is it Kansas City?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could pay a full month's rent, but have them sign 2 or 3 year leases, how quickly would you take that offer?
Probably pretty quickly. We actually asked them about 2 year leases, and their reason was that, they can then raise the rent annually and it was better, but so far it's not seeming to be better.
That's what people say. What they didn't say is that they make more money when they sign shorter term leases. That's the reality. And I'm not saying that every property manager is just incentivized for themselves, but I can certainly guarantee that they are not staying up late night thinking about ways to increase your length of average stay, because that removes revenue from them.
And they also do a lot of the maintenance, in between. So they're making money there also.
So they charge a maintenance markup as well?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it like 10% or 15% or so?
I just think it's their, their handyman people that do the work.
Oh.
And
So they have somebody on staff.
Ready bid, and then so we don't see what the actual numbers are. They just tell us what it's going to cost to get it ready for the next tenant.
Yeah, so they probably have somebody on staff who then they charge you for his time or her time to actually complete it, right? And then you would have no way of knowing, is that market rate for it? Is it not, right? It's a tough thing when you have maintenance in-house. It's tough for the owner on the other side to make sure that the costs are what they should be. It's also tough for the business. Like JWB at points in time has had maintenance in-house, and it was a tough thing for us too, because how do we set the rate, right? We need to make sure as a business that the expense is covered and that there's a return on that expense. but every time we would make a return on that expense, it's increasing the cost for the owner as well. So it's a tough thing.
And I would imagine that if you have that position in-house, you got to keep him busy.
Yeah.
And you're trying to eliminate maintenance.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's
So
a
it's
tough
not
thing.
the same incentives.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Denny Davis is putting here in the chat. He's putting, you know what I love about these Johnson's discussions here? Everyone has different ways they win in real estate, depending on their circumstances, age, and goals. Some peeps are happy to buy homes with cash and just collect max cash flow. Some people eschew cash flow, maximize leverage, and look for max returns. Some people do what the Johnsons are doing and waterfall their cash flow to pay off their properties. Yet others of us are investing IRA money, taking the larger interest rates at 50%, and looking to grow the IRAs via price appreciation. So many ways to win. Common thread, got to have a fully integrated company to help you win. JWB is what we all have in common. Fun to think about. That's really cool,
Man.
Denny.
Thank you, Denny. That's just very well said. I'm going to share that in our team meeting on Tuesdays. I'm going to print that one out and share with our team because you just hit the nail on the head there, buddy.
All right. So we're talking about multiple ways of winning in real estate. Y'all started in these fourplex and whatnot. What was the big fear before you started investing outside of Denver?
We kind of realized that with Illusions Painting, and it's just Misty and I basically running the company, that we were going to be 65, 70, 75 before I could retire. And so we were terrified when we made the Kansas City purchase, but we had a dream, we had a goal. And so we jumped in both feet and just crossed our fingers and hoped to heck that it went right.
And I applaud you for that. I mean, if I could do a show of all of the decisions that didn't work out the way I wanted, that led me to actually it being successful in rental properties, we would fill up many, many shows. So the fact that you guys just have one property that maybe hasn't gone exactly according to plan, consider yourselves lucky, right? And you also invested in a time in real estate where you may be experiencing some pain on the cash flows because of the turnovers, but I'm pretty sure you're winning when appreciation is taken into account because values have gone up so much. So consider that a great learning lesson and one that you're going to do quite well in.
Y'all want to see how your portfolio has performed so far and do a "This is your life"? You ready for this that Gregg was working on all morning?
Sure.
Yep.
All right, let's take it there, GC. Talk us through this thing, man.
Love it, love it, love it. So and thank you guys for being open to sharing the real numbers on your portfolio. We got feedback the last time that we went through this process with Uday, and it was incredible. People love seeing the real story, and it kind of takes like the story that you've told and drills it down into the numbers, and that's something that I think everybody can relate to. For all of you who are new to the show, this type of reporting that we have, most of this reporting that I'm going to share with Misty and with Troy is done for you on a monthly basis. So this is a normal part of their experience and would be your experience as far as being a rental property investor with JWB. I've sprinkled a little bit of extra financial analysis on there for you, which we're going to do for everybody who joins us on the show as a guest investor. And it's going to lead to some really great teaching moments here. Let's first start with your key performance indicators. Overall, their lifetime return, Misty and Troy, for the year that they've been investing with us, is just under 13%, right? If we equate that to the property evaluation we were just looking at, you would compare that to the expected return, not including home price appreciation. So it takes into account your cash flow, your tax savings, your principal pay down, doesn't take into account home price appreciation, doesn't take into account inflation hedging. You can see they've been investing for 0.9 years, so just about a year. They have 4 properties on this report. The two additional ones were just closed, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. So we report every month. So that will be included in the next month's report for Misty and Troy. $4,047 is their net rental income. That's what hits their bank account. That's what you take all of the rental income minus all of the expenses. You include any maintenance costs or any vacancy costs. You include tenant placement fees. At the end of this year, for their 4 properties, we've been able to add $4,047 to their bank account, which you can see then they are using that to go and pay down and accelerate the pay down on their other mortgages, which is that C3X model that we talk about, that waterfall model. And then that total return there is just under $14,000. That's where you take that net rental income and you add in tax savings and you add in principal pay down. And that's actually what their total return is. Again, not including home price appreciation. And you can see that there's a tremendous amount of value there to go from 4 to 14. And most investors don't pay attention to anything other than cash flow.
Makes sense. Are we moving up?
let's move on.
All right.
This is what we love to show everybody. This is our accountability tool. So, and quite frankly, as you start to add 4 and, 10 and 20, 30 properties, as Misty and Troy plan to do, they're not going to remember what their interest rates were when they acquired, and not going to remember what their purchase prices were. So just simply having all this information here is wonderful. A couple of things to point out. Their purchase dates, right? So February, April, June, and July. I was just curious about that, guys. Did you guys put your properties under contract at one time and they just happened to close at different times? Or did you like close on something and then put something under contract, close on something and put something under contract?
So I think we did 2 at a time, both times. And then again, the third time, and they just closed at various times.
You guys have just been in perpetual loans for ever.
Right.
How are you liking that experience?
Well, I have all the information ready from the first time. It's just a quick update.
True. One of the things is I'm just looking to have a better experience for you all is with the planning that we can do with you, knowing what your goals are. We can start to plan out how many purchases you're going to be making this year, right? Or this quarter, or this every 6 months. It'll save you from an experience perspective, because you can submit all the documents one time and close on multiple properties at one time, rather than spacing them out 2 by 2. And that'll just decrease your stress. So that's certainly there as an opportunity for you. And just look at your interest rates. I mean, they're borrowing money at roughly 4%. The ability to borrow money, other people's money at 4%, and have these properties locked in for the next 30 years if they want to hold the debt that long, is an incredible opportunity. You guys, everybody who's in the audience should be asking yourself, do you think that you can find an investment that can earn more than 4%? If you do, then borrowing 4% money and doing that over 30 years is your greatest opportunity to create generational wealth. And so I love that you guys are employing, understand how smart that can help you.
Do you see a question came in here from Michael Santorios,
Mhm.
right? They said that Michael Santorios asked, they said that they were putting extra each month towards paying down the principal. Knowing that they're looking to purchase more properties, wouldn't it be better to save that cash for the next down payment instead of paying off a 4% loan?
It's a great question. Misty and Troy, do you want to try to take a stab at that one first? Maybe just share your experience. I'm sure you've kind of thought about that, right?
Well, yeah, and the reason is because you can only have a certain number of mortgages, and we have the one more that we're about to purchase, and then we only have one more available mortgage. So until we pay at least one off, we won't be able to purchase another property unless we pay it for it in cash. That's not how we want to do it.
There's some other solutions there too. I'm going to have my team follow up with you guys, because again, knowing your plan here, again, knowing that interest rates are going to be going up in the future, knowing that purchase prices are going to be going up in the future, you guys stand to really make a much better return and accumulate a lot more wealth if we can use that information to help you acquire that same number of properties quicker, right? You will benefit from that. And there are new financial products out there that just quite frankly weren't available even a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And a lot of them have the opportunity to remove that 10 finance property rule. And so we have lenders now that we feel confident enough. We have the relationship with them over many, many years now. They've opened up new products. And so we might be able to overcome that solution for you guys right here and now as well.
That would be great.
Should we go on to the next sheet?
Yeah, let's do that.
Hit here?
Yep. So what I was showed here is out of their portfolio, I chose the highest lifetime return on investment property and the lowest lifetime return on investment property. So this is what we'll do going forward for all of you who join us as a guest investor here. And you can see here their property on Play School. Again, this is 1 year of ownership, right? You need to be owning for longer than 1 year, which we're going to talk about. But 1 year, and we've earned a 16% return on investment.
Strong.
Yeah, not including home price appreciation, by the way, right? In the year 2021, the market went up 15 to 20% in Jacksonville.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's 16%. So congratulations on that, guys. The expected returns on that property were just over 10% when they saw their evaluations and decided to make the decision there. And on the lower side, right, still not very low, right? Their annual lifetime return for the property on Northland, just over 9%. So this has been a great year for them. Usually your first year of owning a rental property is great. That's even beyond just JWB, right? Normally, if you buy a rental property, it's just been built or newly renovated, you should have a good year because there's a resident in place and maintenance costs should be low or non-existent. So not surprised here that your returns are strong. Something else to point out though, they have the expense of a tenant placement fee in the first year, right? So I don't know exactly what their rents are, maybe around $1,300 for Play School and maybe somewhere around there for Northland. And there's that additional $1,300 expense in the first year because it's a full month of tenant placement fee. So what that's saying is that we've incurred that expense. We're still overperforming. So it's setting themselves up really well to be overperforming next year and in future years.
All right. So what do we got here, GC?
Yeah. So this is their total portfolio lifetime return, right? This is really important for all of you out there who are owning rental properties, have visions of owning a portfolio of rental properties. The reality is that your individual properties are going to be overperforming and your individual properties at times are going to be underperforming. And if you ride that emotional roller coaster and make decisions based off of that emotional roller coaster, you'll make the wrong ones. You'll make the wrong decisions, right? What we need to adopt is a portfolio mindset, an asset manager mindset, right? We need to understand that the way to achieve consistency in your returns is to have multiple properties in your portfolio. And when you have multiple properties in your portfolio and you own them for a long period of time, 10 to 20 years, there are going to be some things that frustrate you on an individual property level, right? For Misty and Troy, at some point they will have a move out. At some point they will have evictions. They're going to have 30 properties in their portfolio, right? There's going to be a large maintenance expense, a turnover cost. I guarantee it's going to happen at some point. But there are going to be that many other properties in their portfolio that don't have that happen that year. And so what we need to do is to train ourselves to make decisions and assess performance on the overall portfolio, which is of course something that we report on for our clients. And that's what you see here for their total portfolio returns here. 12.8% when the weighted average expected returns for them was just under 10%. So this is the first and most, I guess, glaring place that our team looks to assess how are we doing? How is this client feeling, right? We want to understand if they are in a good mood or if there's something that's going on with that client, even before we get on the phone with them. And this is what our service team looks at. If we're above or right at expectations, these are probably pretty good. If we're below expectations, we better have an answer for it, right? And so it's as much something to help our clients make great decisions as it is to help us be the best customer service team we can be.
There you go. All right. Should we scroll up some more?
So guys, this is your snapshot of your total portfolio. For your 4 properties, again, it doesn't include the two most recent, but for your 4 properties, your down payments were a little bit over 40 grand each on average to get you to about $174,000 of capital outlay. It's another way of saying down payments plus closing costs that they put into their portfolio in 2021. Next, we've got your net rental income. We talked about this, that $4,000 roughly. Your tax savings is another $4,000, actually more than the net rental income, but nobody talks about tax savings. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Even less people talk about principal pay down. $5,700, $5,800 here of real returns of their loans have been paid down by their residents, which is a beautiful thing. And then home price appreciation. So home price appreciation has been really high in 2021 in Jacksonville. 15 to 20% year over year home price appreciation. So for their portfolio, and they own the properties, between 5 to 10 months, right? I just kind of averaged it and said, well, geez, if appreciation was 15 to 20%, they've owned it for 70% of, a year, give or take a little bit. I took their home price appreciation to be about 10% over their initial portfolio, kind of making some adjustments there for ease, right? But it's going to be close enough, right? They've experienced significant appreciation, call it about 15% or $15,000 for each property, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Significant. All right. But now let's look at that total selling costs. We've never seen that line before.
Yeah. What is that line?
That's 73 grand of an expense. What are we talking about there? Got any ideas? Guys, do you guys have any ideas out there what those selling costs would be?
Real estate commission fees.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the reasons why we bring clients on and we ask them if they're planning to buy and hold for at least 5 years, and it's a requirement, right? We're not going to bring a client on who says, I think I'm only going to hold on for a year. That's not just a JWB thing, right? That's a helping you set yourself up for success thing. And it's because if you get into this game and expect to make money in year 1 from appreciation, you're not thinking about the costs that come along with selling. a standard rule of thumb is that you're going to lose about 10% when you go and sell your property off of the new sales price. And the way you get there is it's real estate commissions, just like Troy talked about. It's also holding costs, right? It's also closing costs. And you roll 6% for commissions, roughly 2% for holding costs, 2% for closing costs. That's 10% you take right off the top. So what we're seeing here is this incredible portfolio that Missy and Troy have, right? They've just experienced 15 to 20% appreciation year over year for the entire market. But if they made a decision here to sell right now, their overall returns on investment, if they sold the traditional way, would be negative because of the selling, holding, and closing costs. And the real point there is this is why you buy and hold for a long time. This is one of the major reasons you buy and hold for a long time, because you're not going to get 15 to 20% appreciation every year. I've never seen that before other than 2021, but you need time on your side, right? You need multiple years of seeing typically 4.5% growth to offset the traditional holding, selling, and closing costs that come along with it for us to maximize your overall return on investment. Pablo, that's a new concept for us.
That is a new concept.
What do you think there?
I mean, it's interesting. You're saying it'd be negative, but it's negative based on home price appreciation. You still make a little bit if you count the principal pay down and total tax savings and net rental income, right? Like if I were to add all these numbers, it would be, this is another 8,000. This is another 5.5. So that's 13 plus 69 is 79. So you'd still make a little bit of change. You're breaking even, but at the end of the day, it's not a real, you can't count home price appreciation for real unless you're also counting on selling costs, which is kind of what I'm taking away from this moral.
Yeah. I think my numbers are a little off, to be quite honest, because I used a 2-year term for the IR. You're right. You're a good point. Point, Pablo.
Yeah, let's go.
You would make money on it. You're going to see on my next slide that I was off, but I like your point better.
All right, let's go.
That's what happens when you do these numbers 10 minutes before the show.
Yeah.
I got to stop doing that. Point valid.
Yeah.
Pablo wins. So here's the point that I wanted to make, right? Your years of ownership here is 1, right? If you have 1 year of ownership, going to be very hard for you to offset the selling, holding, and closing costs that are going to come along with selling this asset, right? Your total return on investment, if you're just looking for cash flow, tax savings, and principal pay down, 13%, just like we talked about. Normally, if you would have had a market that went up in value, right, you would have seen the appreciation effect, and that would be way more than the selling, holding, and closing costs. But in this case, you're getting all of that home price appreciation pretty much is done away with, offset because of the selling costs, because of the 10% that you would take right off the bat. And the other thing to keep here in mind is like, not every experience for JWB or for others is great in the first year, right? If you find yourself in an experience where it hasn't gone according to plan and you're like, I want out after a year, this is really what you're doing, right? You are increasing the cost of selling so much that there's really no way for you to get your return on investment back. And that's why we only bring clients on who want to buy for a minimum and hold for a minimum of 5 years.
Makes a lot of sense. What'd y'all think, Missy and Troy?
Well, we actually had a bonus this year. The 3 single family homes, we got escrow overpayment refunds of about $2,500 per property. And our payments went down around like $150 per property because they were keeping too much escrow.
Really?
Yeah. So it's actually a little bit higher cash flow. I'm
happy for you. It could easily go the other way, unfortunately. So prepare yourselves to be disappointed in the future. And that's a lender thing. Like they don't know what they're escrowing sometimes, but that's great that it worked out in your favor right now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to anybody that's thinking about getting into rental properties or, thinking about expanding into real estate to start kind of like wanting to retire early, shutting down like not having to work 7 days a week? What overall advice would you give to somebody else that's kind of like in your shoes 3 years ago?
I would say get the education and understand it and, find either coaches or people who are in the business that, know what they're doing to learn from.
Yeah, makes sense. That's why we're so deliberate about this community thing, this education thing, right? Like it definitely feels like the step one of being able to make it easy to get into this stuff. Troy, do you have anything that you wish somebody would have told you a couple of years ago when you and Misty were sitting down and trying to figure out how to get out of the rat race?
You get the education, like Misty said, you learn that side of it, but then you find a company that you're confident with, like JWB, and then just jump in and go for it.
I love it. I love it. Johnson's, this was awesome. I think I'm really loving this format of having guest investors because you brought something really, really unique to the table that we haven't discussed before. I feel like I'm learning at a new rate thanks to y'all, being on here and being able to learn from your experience. And it's a special thing. I really enjoy it. So thank you so much for taking the risk, right? Misty, you were telling me that you knew that when we were launching this initiative, we're just going to need people to raise their hand and come on screen. And you fortunately went bold on it. And, fortune favored the bold and you came on, and I hope you had a great experience. So I just really, really want to thank you for making this fun for us, making this valuable for the community. Really, really awesome experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To be here.
I'm gonna echo a little bit of that. And I just wanted to also say what an incredible experience it is to learn through your words. Pablo and I have been doing this for 2 years now, and I find that it's less valuable what I say, and it's more valuable seeing it in action and seeing your own words and seeing your thoughts and how this is working for you and your family. So thank you guys from the entire community for sharing your story. I think it is really, really impactful. And we're just really excited to have you guys as clients to be able to serve you for a long time. Our team is just really, really excited to help you. I'm going to make sure my team follows up with you about some potential ideas to help you accomplish your goals even quicker, guys.
That'd be great. Thank you.
There you go. Speaking of learning from other people's experience, Tuesday, we got Scott Carson showing up. This guy, Scott Carson, he's got an educational platform about note investing, and he also helps people invest in notes. He's been on over 100 podcasts a year for the last 4 years talking about note investing. So we're going to open up the tent again. We're going to talk about a brand new asset class that we really haven't. I honestly, when I was onboarding him, I was like, what is note investing?
It's like musical notes or what? What are we doing?
Exactly. I'm like, I have a note. Will you invest with me? Yes, no, circle one. So it's going to be super educational. We're going to get into the details of note investing. We're going to put him through the scorecard.
Love it.
Right.
Wait.
We're going to check the scorecard out. Like we like to say, if you want to find out about rental property investing, you were in the right place. Rental property management, we definitely talked about it with y'all, the importance of rental property management and, the advantages of the Jacksonville market. We talked about that too. If you want some personalized advice, hop on a call with one of our professionals, one of our experts. Chatwithjwb.com is the next place to go. And that wraps it up for me, GC. I'll let you take it away.
Rap City. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you to the community. And we're excited about Scott coming up on Tuesday. So we'll see you guys here Tuesday at 12:30.
That's right. If you're on the podcast, if you're on the radio show and you're just having an average experience, don't be average. Be a not your average investor. Join us here, nyais.com, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12:30. We'll see you on Tuesday. Bye, Johnsons.
See you guys.